Welcome to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale.
Hey oddballs, welcome back to the Oddity Shop. I'm your host, curator, annoyance, Kara. This is your Zach.
You're doing amazing. This is the podcast where we tell you creepy, odd, weird, strange, haunted stories from around the globe. How the heck are you?
I am doing crappy. Oh my God, I was going to say good. Why did crappy come out? Okay, let me ask you a question. What do you think?
That's that gaslighting we were talking about in the last episode. You're gaslighting yourself and the real emotion came through.
That's true. What do you think it means when you're just like sitting on the toilet and then you just like look down and there's a crystal there? For no reason. There should not be a crystal there. I don't be carrying crystals around my house.
When crystals show up or when they disappear, it's either that you need them at that time, or like if you were using one and it disappears, like it's done its work, you don't need it anymore. I'm wondering if maybe that crystal knew you needed some help pooping.
Well,
what crystal was it?
Okay, I don't know crystal names. It was like a really light pink one. It was just little tiny. I wish I could find it.
Is it like a clear or like a chalky?
Kind of
pink?
like a cleary pink.
Like a rose quartz?
I thought it might be rose quartz when I picked it up. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's rose quartz. Usually the key words are love, gentleness, and emotional healing. Maybe it was helping you with a more gentle passing. Yeah. Lowering stress and tension.
I do have poop problems, so it's probably
holding on to negative emotions. There you go.
Love my butthole.
The crystal said, don't be constipated today.
Love your butt. Okay, thanks.
All right. Lovely. We're going to have a fun transition here. Going from talking about poop problems to... Okay, we usually keep things light and goofy, even though we sometimes talk about really deep and dark things. We're going to get really, really serious for a minute here, though.
Yes.
And we just want to take a minute to say mental health is so important, right? If you are struggling, there are resources. Reach out if you need help, and know that you are loved by more people in your life than you could ever know. With that being said, we've recently lost somebody, and we want to help give back. And the family has decided that instead of any sort of flowers or anything like that, they want to gather some donations for NAMI, which is the National Association for Mental Illness. So NAMI provides education, support, advocacy, and awareness so that those with mental illness can live longer, better lives. If you are interested and want to make a donation and make a difference in somebody's life, the donation link for that will be down in the show notes. And if you do, from the bottom of Kara and my heart and everyone else in our close circle, we will get just our unending gratitude on that. We would just really appreciate it. And just know that you're loved.
Yes. I'll link it in our bio and stuff too.
Perfect.
Just so it's easily accessible. Yes, Zach, you said that perfectly. I think that we've all either struggled or known somebody that struggled. So it's just, I feel like we do talk about mental health quite a bit on here. Not as much as maybe we talk to each other about it, but it's just super important. And there's nothing wrong with getting help for your mental health. So yes, let's raise some money for a good cause.
So thank you, everybody. We're going to get back to getting light and all this sort of fun stuff as usual, but just had to take a serious moment there. Okay, so we've talked about poop problems. We have talked about mental health. I have nothing else going on right now. Are you ready to just kind of get into it?
Yes, let's move forward, please.
Are you ready for a question?
Perhaps.
I'm going to make it a two-parter. When people are trying to rediscover themselves or whatever, what state do they move to?
California.
And why? Why is it always California? Why do you think people go there?
Because it's the city of stars. What is their tagline? It's not the city of stars. It's the city of dreams. And what the fuck's the tagline? I don't know.
Oh, what is Ellie's?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The city of angels.
No, it looks like where you go.
I know what you're trying to say. I think that's Hollywood. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. Whatever.
Okay. Anyways, we're going to be talking about a story. Kara, I know you're going to figure it out pretty quickly. Probably a lot of our listeners too, because it is super insanely popular in a really morbid way that things get popular. But are you ready to get into it?
Wait,
Maybe I'll teach you a few new things.
My question was just, where do people go?
Why do you think people always...
Oh, and then why? Okay.
So, April 30th, 1991, David and Elisa Lam give birth to their daughter, Elisa Lam.
Shut the fuck up. Hold on. Everybody pause right now. This is, I just have to say, if there is ever a story, sorry to interrupt you, if there is ever a story that has never left my brain since I accidentally randomly watched
100.
a little documentary on it, to the point where it drives me fucking insane, and I think about it probably like on a weekly basis, this is the story, and I could never sit down to write it because my brain can't fucking do it, okay? So thank you for doing it.
Because it is one of those ones that, like, it's solved, but it will never be solved. It will never be explained. Okay.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
Elisa's parents were living in Vancouver, where they had immigrated from Hong Kong. And Elisa was growing up, she was always a pretty ambitious girl, but she did struggle with mental health issues and it caused her to feel a little bit lost and directionless at times. But it didn't stop her from starting school at the University of British Columbia and her first blog, which was called Ether Fields. That was in 2010. Although in 2011, she moved from Blogspot to Tumblr, of course, as we all were on in 2011.
I was not a Tumblr girl.
She made a new blog there called Nouvelle Nouveau is the name of it. So she starts the blogging in school in 2010, and over the next couple of years, she pours a lot of energy into the blog where she'd post models, clothing, and a lot of little accounts about her life, where she was really for somebody who wasn't very... She was personable. She was friendly in person, but she was very reserved.
Yeah, not very social.
Right. So she'd be friendly to you in a store, but she didn't have a whole lot of close friends.
And so these were kind of just updates of her life and stuff.
Yeah. So kind of the things you would share with your friends, a little bit deeper things, a lot of quotes on there. But you could tell through the blog that she was feeling the effects of both bipolar disorder and depression. Mm-hmm. So at one point, she even quotes the author, and I'm going to murder his last name because I've only ever read it. I've never had to try to say it out loud, but Chuck Palahniuk.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. He says, you are always haunted by the idea that you're wasting your life, is the quote that she puts.
Read it one more time.
You are always haunted by the idea that you're wasting your life.
It resonates so deeply.
Yeah. So soon after posting this quote, right, you can see that Elisa, she's struggling to school. I think at this point she had pulled out of most of her classes. She was just really feeling lost. That wasting her life feeling was setting in. So she decides that she's going to go on a solo trip to California to sort of, find herself, maybe get reinvigorated or motivated and just get some direction in her life. After a lot of back and forth with her parents, who were nervous about her choice to travel by herself, she sets out in January 2013. She gets to California on January 26th. And the one condition, though, that she agreed to with her parents is that she would check in with them at least once daily to give them an update on her well-being and mental health, which is pretty fair.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess what else do you do if your parents, you don't want to hinder your child from doing
absolutely
the things that they want to do, their dreams, because then that could backfire and affect their mental health. But then you're worried. So I think that's a decent compromise.
It was a healthy worry because of the struggles that she had. Right. But exactly like you said, holding her back isn't going to help her get over those issues at all. So I think it's a very fair trade-off. Yeah. And, a lot of the stories we talk about are so old. This is 2013. They had smartphones. Right. They had internet. Blog.
Exactly. You could just really get a hold of her easily. Yeah. Okay.
And she's college age, So it's not like she's too young to travel by herself or anything like that. So her first couple of days, though, she's having a great experience. She's kind of traveling around by bus and Amtrak, spends some time in San Diego, goes to the San Diego Zoo. And the whole time she's sharing updates about her trip on her blog. She seems like she's really, really enjoying herself.
It's like her little online diary.
Absolutely, yeah. So after some time bopping around all those places, she decides that she wants to leave LA and go to Santa Cruz, where she'll spend the rest of her time in California. So she really went without like a full plan. Some of the sites said she was like backpacking, but she was obviously staying in hotels the whole time. Like, she was just kind of super going with the flow all over California, just wherever things took her. But she was staying, at hotels.
Yeah, I think that the backpacking just comes from because she was just literally living out of like her backpack and just bopping around. Yeah.
So before making her way up to Santa Cruz on the 28th of January, she checks into the Cecil Hotel, where she was supposed to spend 4 nights, the infamous Cecil Hotel. And as most of us already know, Elisa Lam would never check out of the Cecil.
Yes.
All right. You know me. It's time for a history lesson. We're going to take a break on Elisa's story right now, and we're going to go to the background of the hotel. So let's talk about the Cecil Hotel, because most people have the same mental image of it in their head today, of it just being run down.
Yeah.
We'll say that nicely. So the Cecil Hotel was a luxury hotel built in LA in 1924 by 3 prominent, one of my favorite words, hoteliers.
Hotelier.
It just rolls off the tongue.
It does sound really good.
So it's meant to be a destination for like business travelers and tourists. It's kind of being built in like a theater district, so that like a lot of short-term travelers come in. The hotel cost a whopping $1.5 million to complete.
What's that today?
I knew you were going to ask me, and for the first time in a year and a half, I have it. That would be $30 million in today's money.
Okay.
Which sounds incredibly low, because I'm like, well, $30 million for a luxury hotel doesn't seem like that crazy. That was the building. Took another $2.5 million or $45 million in today's money to furnish it and get the business rolling.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So it has marble stairs, opulent lobbies, stained glass windows, and it's all super Art Deco, which just needs to have a comeback at this point, because I love Art Deco. It's just like so brutal, you know what I mean? And like there's concrete, it's just like industrial beauty.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it. Which, by the way, if you ever watched American Horror Story Hotel, totally based. All the looks of that are from the Cecil Hotel.
Okay.
So at first it's like a wildly popular success, but built in 1924, the 30s hit and the Great Depression. Unfortunately, the Cecil has like this decades long decline. It did start to decline, only 5 years after it was built, but it wasn't until the 40s, so 15 years in, that it started to lose a little bit of popularity. Yeah. This is because not only were hotels and tourism struggling, but then the area around the Cecil Hotel, today is known as California's famous Skid Row.
Yeah.
So like I said, this was a huge hotel district. It was a huge entertainment district, right? So a lot of money was pouring into here, but once the Depression hit, there was no money coming in.
Yeah, it's sad.
So what these hotels started to cater to were transient workers, right? And so many people flocking to California for that fresh start, especially during the Depression, started to come here. Problem is there's just not a lot of work. So the neighborhood around the 40s becomes home to 10,000 people without homes.
Oh,
today
I can't even comprehend visualizing that many people.
And Skid Row is like a square mile.
Yeah, it's not. People think
that's a lot of people.
People think Skid Row is like, when you think of it, I think that people think it's like really long. It's not. It's nothing.
It's a mile by a mile.
Yeah, it's crazy.
10,000 homeless people. Today it's about 4,500.
Which still,
the history of just that is really interesting. So obviously it starts accumulating in the 30s, and then in the 40s, now this whole district has no money coming into it. So in the 40s and 50s, the Hotel Cecil and others in the area start to cater to the transient workers, right? Or the people who are now unfortunately homeless, and they move away from their hotel of short-term rentals to long-term affordable housing.
Yeah. Did you say how many rooms were in there?
There's 700 rooms. I have not yet.
Okay, sorry.
So that's, the 40s and 50s. Then you have things as you typically do, right? So alcoholism, drug use, crime starts to become rampant. In the 70s, first of all, let's be honest here. All of this shit was created by poor governing of the area and lack of social support systems to help these people. Yeah. So in the 70s, they basically just called it a homeless containment area. They built a bunch of shelters and were like, washed our hands. We did our part. Then the 80s, flip-flop, right? The war on drugs is starting, and they're like, hey, all those homeless people that we put there and gave them no resources, and all they have is, their vices, we're going to raid them pretty much all the time because we don't want to see homeless people anymore. 90s, I think, the grunge area, they just kind of took their hands off. And then in the early 2000s, after multiple attempts to clean it up, it came out that the hospitals and the cops were actually just dumping patients and criminals into the area that they just didn't want to handle.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Insanely fucking sad and terrible the way people were treated.
Just ridiculous.
You never have a chance to get out of this situation, right?
See, that's a problem with whatever we could.
Yeah, I mean, humans letting humans get to this level is just...
Okay.
Yeah, we could go all day.
Right.
Anyways, though, so we get into this, right? Because it shows how... a place that cost $75 million to build this luxury hotel has become this, it's an affordable housing complex now. So it's mixed use. It's mostly like subsidized housing. Parts of it are still used as a hotel, but it's having a hard time coming back because of the reputation. Right. The 700 rooms are often places where drug dealers hang out and sell.
Sketchy.
Gangsters go to lay low. You've got sex workers, you've got homeless people. It's just a cluster of, but no support for them. Just hide them from society. Okay. Mm-hmm. Along with the population, we have things come up. So there's a lot of murder, suicide, overdose, rape, and deaths. I mean, just this place it's a dark place.
Yeah, it's very dark, very, very dark.
In fact, Richard Ramirez.
I was going to say Ramirez.
Yeah. The Night Stalker, he lived here for a few weeks. Didn't just stay there either. This is literally where he was when he was making his kills. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In the early 90s, another serial killer, Jack Unterweger, an Australian killer who came in and started killing all the sex workers he could find.
What? Maybe you didn't get too far. I think it was Ramirez. I think he walked straight through the lobby, like covered in blood.
Yeah.
And dumped his clothes. It was Ramirez or the other Australian guy.
Yeah, that's Ramirez.
Crazy.
And nobody bats an eye.
It's a free-for-all there.
Nobody even looks twice. It's just like this way of life is just really accepted. So, I mean, you have this like high-end luxury Art Deco hotel that's just over the years gotten one of the worst reputations ever. Also, you can imagine with all this stuff going on, super haunted.
Wanted.
Okay, so how does like this innocent, sweet Elisa Lam from Canada end up in the middle of Skid Row?
Bopping around, journaling.
I never really looked into it. I always just assumed, right? Like, she's not from there. She's figuring it out as she goes. Okay, 700 room, beautiful Art Deco hotel. I'm sure they're advertising only nice pictures. Probably just booked it and didn't know. Wrong.
Yeah.
These fuckers in 2013, so right before Elisa Lam comes there, decide that they're going to rebrand the Cecil.
Yeah, they did.
The Hotel on Main is born. Mm-hmm. They literally took one of the lobbies from the Cecil, cleaned it up, made it look gorgeous. It enters onto a different street than the other one, opposite of the Skid Row street. And just is like this brand new, fully renovated tourist. Okay, now the common areas were renovated, not the rooms.
Nope.
They literally shared hotels, or not hotels, elevators.
Like, you also shared rooms.
Oh, and yeah, you literally have to share rooms in the hotel. Like
you don't get your own
double bed room. They're putting somebody else in that bed.
Yep.
But like, yeah, it's crazy. So they called it the Hotel on Main. You get past the lobby, you go like through a hallway into the elevators, and it's the same exact elevators that are being used by the people who live in the hotel or the Cecil Hotel.
Do you feel the most powerful and beautiful with the elements of the earth around you? Do you like one-of-a-kind jewelry? Do you sometimes feel like a woodland fairy? Me too. That's why I created Holly and Hemlock, a magical shop filled with handmade wooden jewelry and metaphysical tools. Come check out our enchanting wooden wares at www.hollyhemlock.com and join us in honoring the magic and beauty of nature with each unique creation. That's www.hollyhemlock.com.
Can you think of in 2013, like I know it's a long time ago, but it's not really that long time ago when you think about it, the fact that if you booked a hotel, you could be sharing a room with somebody random because it had 2 beds.
I could never.
That's insanity to me.
They would leave in the middle of the night, though. I am gassy and a snorer. Mm-mm. Okay.
Okay, continue.
Back to Elisa, though, and away. We've talked a lot about butts.
Butts. I like big butts, and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny.
No, I do not get that stuck in my head. Okay. So Elisa thinks she's going to this brand new renovated hotel, right? It's going to be a perfect place to spend her last couple nights in LA. So she gets put into the 5th floor in one of those shared rooms, and almost immediately she starts to act a little bit odd, like leaving notes for her roommates to go home or get out, or constantly locking them out. So, I mean, with just that, you could think that maybe she just wasn't getting along with the people or wanted some space. Like, I would probably, I mean, I have acted crazy in public transportation so that nobody sits by me. So
yeah,
could have been a ploy. But then you find out she wasn't only starting to act a little bit strange in the hotel, because while she was sitting there, she's actually escorted off the set of Conan's live taping because she's being super disruptive and acting very odd.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked, she did struggle with depression. She did struggle with bipolar. And when she was medicated, she was always described as very nice, friendly, and shy. However, there were times prior to her coming to California where when she was not taking her meds regularly, she would have some strange episodes.
Yeah.
Hallucinations or confusion. And I mean, most of the strong prescriptions for bipolar, when you come off them, they have pretty strong withdrawal effects.
Yeah. Ugh. So sad.
Even though she's acting a little bit weird, she's staying true to her word. She's checking in with her parents every day, except for New Year's Eve. So January 31st, her parents start to get concerned because they haven't heard from her all day. And they immediately call the LAPD and fly to California to start the search for Elisa. The police do a full search of this hotel, 700 rooms. They just kind of figured she was probably like not wanting to go home and she was hiding somewhere in the hotel because she never checked out.
Yeah.
Her personal effects were still in her room.
And it's like, it's one of those really shitty things that every time like you hear about a disappearance, it's like, okay, well, they ran away, or like they're an adult. They don't have to call you back, or like they, well, what was she doing out here? Oh, backpacking. Okay. So she probably just moved on. Like, it's just all those things that
I will give the LAPD credit on this one. Because when the parents call, they spring into action and started searching really quick.
That's kind of surprising.
Especially in the Cecil Hotel.
That's
right?
What I mean.
We're talking in Skid Row.
And 2013. That's surprising too.
Had she not had the blog and the social presence online that she had, where her parents could show the cops that she is normal, track. Like, yeah. So I think that helped her, honestly. Well,
yeah. Well,
helped find out what happens. Anyways, so the staff is all a question. They found out she had been alone during her stay. They're retracing her steps outside the hotel. They have dogs going into the rooms they could, but room to room, never really picking up her scent. But they did find one person who recalled seeing her on the 31st who wasn't hotel staff. And it was the owner of a local bookstore, horribly ironically called The Last Bookstore, who reported that Elisa had been in looking at books and that she had said that she had planned to come back to buy gifts for her family before she returned.
Which, to hear that as the family, then like you just are like, oh no.
In finding that, though, the cops are like, okay, this is like something's going on here, right? So they're searched for over a week. They still have no signs. So what they start to do is post flyers, reach out online. The case immediately starts to get a lot of public attention. Elisa still never shows up. Like I said, it's been over a week. The dogs pick up her scent once that ends at a window. But now you have what's starting to happen is, right, early or mid 2000s, 2013. So you have that online sleuthing starting to go on, right? So a lot of people are online trying to figure out what's happening.
Going off her blogs and trying to find clues and
So while all this is happening, the police are going through all the surveillance, which 700 rooms. I mean, this building is massive. I can't even imagine how long it takes to go through security cameras.
Yeah, for like a crime sense in each of those rooms.
You could only imagine the horrible shit they saw just going through.
Oh, God.
Finally, though, on February 13th, so pretty much 2 weeks after the last time Elisa's seen, the police release a video of the security camera from inside one of the elevators.
I just got full goosebumps.
And I would say there's probably a good chunk of you have seen this video at some time. If you haven't, it is linked below. Yeah, it's definitely it's about 3.5 minutes. Take a watch. And really the last minute is just the hotel door opening or the elevator door opening and shutting. In the first 2.5 minutes, though, it's just a really grainy video. And you see Elisa, and she almost looks drunk at first, like kind of not stumbling, but not walking normally. She comes
just, like,
into the
scattered,
elevator. Yeah. She hits a couple of the buttons, and then she stands like all the way to the back of the elevator in the corner.
It's so creepy. I have full goosebumps.
And even though she hit buttons, like the door doesn't close. So after a few seconds, she comes out, like peeks her head out, like she's looking down the hall almost as if something's coming for her, right? Or she's anticipating she's being followed.
Yeah.
She pulls back in, then she goes out again. And now she's like, you know when you're in a dark room and you're reaching in front of you?
Yep.
It looks like she's doing that, like she can't see. But then it looks like she gets
strange.
really animated, almost like she's like telling somebody to like, hurry up, come on. But then she goes back into the elevator. But instead of going in that back corner, she gets all the way into the corner by where the buttons are.
Mm-hmm.
And just like she's hiding. Like it's obvious she's hiding.
Yeah, it's basically like, so she is on the same side as like the door. So it's almost like she's smashing her body so hard into that corner so that if anyone were to just pass and peer in, you wouldn't see her. Like she's hiding.
The whole thing is, then she's hitting more buttons. The elevator door never closes and it never moves. But not, so for like the next minute, she's just like, she would be out in the hallway for like 30 seconds at once looking like she's looking for a friend.
And it almost looks like she's talking to somebody.
Yes.
When she's out there.
And she's getting more and more like flustered, like almost like she's fighting with somebody that nobody else can see.
It's very, very, I don't know if disturbing is the right, but I can never get over this video. It is ingrained in my fucking mind. I haven't seen it in probably 6 years and I can visualize it to a T.
I mean, I just watched it again and it's terrible. So
I have goosebumps so bad.
I said it almost feels like she's like playing hide and seek. You know when you watch a kid play hide and seek, if they hide too long, they like keep having to peek out.
Yeah.
So eventually though, she's out in the hallway, the elevator door closes for some time. And then about 30 seconds later, it just starts opening and shutting over and over. But Elisa is never seen in that video again or any video in the entire hotel. They find nothing else. Okay. So theories start to pop up, right? Some are saying she's having the bipolar episode. Maybe she stopped taking her meds. She has done this in the past, and we know that she acts very differently. And
I mean, you have to figure she's out traveling and stuff. So did she have enough meds for this entire trip? Did she go and get more meds? Like, was she able to, or, whatever. So yes, that's a very valid theory.
So another one is people said it looked like, because remember all these online sleuths, this video gets 400 million views in like a matter of days. So then other people are saying, well, she's in Skid Row. Maybe it looks like she's on meth or ecstasy, which would be easy to find there. However, she really wasn't somebody who took recreational drugs, but with the way she's like kind of looking for somebody, but maybe she was spiked.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say.
Or the last thing, people are just saying is that she's hiding from something or someone that we just couldn't or can't see.
Yes.
Whatever way you want to spin it, it's really it's
dark,
disturbingly weird video.
Yeah, it's weird.
Ugh. Now you have the cops trying to figure out what's going on, but millions of people online are all pouring into this, and everyone is looking for answers. Well, it's not the only issue that this hotel is having at that time. You see, the tenants, they are complaining to the hotel staff about some other things going on. Like low water pressure in the building, unusual smells and tastes in the water, or sometimes it even coming out just black. So, on the morning of February 19th, the maintenance worker Santiago Lopez, he takes a ladder. This is important. He takes a ladder. He heads up to the roof of the building to check on the water tank. Nerdy lesson for you. Do you know why the water tanks are on the top of the buildings?
I feel like I know, but
I had to fit this in here because it's just useless facts I've known for forever. Is that it is far cheaper to have one pump the water all the way to the top of the building and let gravity pull it down than to have pumps in every sense. Right? It's so clear, but I'm like, I'm gonna teach you something because I know you know the rest of this shit.
Okay.
All right. So Santiago, he's gonna go up to one of the tanks.
Man.
mind you, he had to bring the ladder with him because there's no ladders on them. They're 8-foot tall tanks on cinder blocks. They're 12, 15 feet off the ground. As he's climbing up, though, he notices that the hatch is open. And as he looks inside, he is staring into basically the face of our missing student, Elisa Lam. She is deceased, floating in the water tank, naked. However, her clothes that she was wearing in the video are floating next to her.
Yeah.
Along with her room key and her wallet, but not her phone.
I feel so bad for him.
Him and her. It's horrifying.
Obviously, I feel bad for her, but can you imagine finding her? I would have fallen off that ladder and broke my neck.
Feel bad for every single person who was
drank that water,
consuming and using the water. Oh my God. Oh
God. Oh my God.
They couldn't just remove her body. It had been in there for so long that it had bloated that they actually had to cut the tank to get her out. So that it drained. They had to cut it. But other than being bloated, like, she didn't have signs of trauma.
Yeah.
So a few days later, February 21st, the coroners finished their investigation and they rule that it's an accidental drowning with bipolar disorder being a significant factor.
Which I can understand that.
Yes. So, and it makes sense. There's no evidence of assault, sexual abuse, physical attacks. There's no like symptoms of suicide that you can see other than deceased body. Toxicology was also ran.
Mm-hmm.
So it rules out any of the meth or any recreational drugs. The only thing they found was a very small amount of alcohol, which anybody on vacation is going to have. And then her prescription medications. Now, the prescription medications were noted to be at a lower level than what they would have expected.
So she probably wasn't taking full dosage or she ran out.
She wasn't taking full doses. So, like, what the fuck happened? Well, most people say she had an episode, right? If she wasn't being pursued and killed, right, and it wasn't drugs, like, the only feasible explanation that seems to make sense is she got off her meds, she started hallucinating, she wasn't in her right mind, and she took her own life.
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
The roof was locked. The staircases to the roofs were locked. There's multiple locks. Even if you did get out there and you were not a hotel employee, you would have tripped the fire alarm or multiple other alarms along the way.
And how did she climb up there?
Exactly. Yeah, the ladder bit, you can't get in there. And those latches were extremely hard to open. Now, it was never closed behind her.
Right.
But, like, also, why would your clothes come off? The other thing is remember I told you the dogs did pick up her scent for a minute?
At the window, yeah.
It ends at a window. That window isn't anywhere near a ground floor or the roof. It's somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It is not near a fire escape, a jumpable area where she could have got, like, it makes no sense. Like, she just went to this window and was on the roof. The horrifying part of all this, right, is, like, the family will never have answers to what happened. They can really only start to piece together her last moments. And, like, it just never sat right to them. They, in fact, like, immediately sue the hotel for a wrongful death suit, claiming that the hotel was failing to protect their guests and their tenants. The hotel fights back, and because of all those things we're talking about, where it was all locked and everything was proved, no liability could be found, and the case is just straight up dismissed in 2015. One last thing before I get your thoughts, because I did not know this bit of the story until recently, like 2 days ago, recently. Following her death, remember what wasn't on her was her phone.
Yep.
Her blog continued to update. So some people thought it was like maybe through Tumblr's queuing options.
Mm-hmm.
But other people think that maybe if there was somebody who had something to do with it, that they had her phone and, like, you know,
they were trying to just
we're hoping to kind of leave a trail, like she was alive. She wasn't in the hotel anymore.
Remind me what the last ones were, because I did know that part. Do you have what the last blog updates were? Because they were weird. I
remember reading them. I did not write it down.
Okay.
I think it's more of the quote kind of deal.
Yeah. I remember it being, though, where the family was like, this doesn't seem like anything that she would have quoted or wrote or something, like, where it was very off-putting if it was queued up to be her. The
thing is, her parents never took the blogs down. They're actually all still up to this day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I probably would keep them up too because it was something that she
Right.
loved. Like, just keep it out there. Like, there's no harm in that.
The other thing I did see is that if it truly was an accident, that with as many millions of people online, that maybe somebody hacked in and.
Well, yeah, I heard that too, which kind of makes sense because if you had so many people, and especially in 2013, I'm sure it was easier to get into things like that.
So what do you think happened? Because I have my own theory that I'm gonna say it now. I have no evidence to back it up, just what I think could be plausible, but I want to see where you're at first.
Okay. So I think, and there are so many, not to your fault, but there's just a lot. There's so many details that you didn't even touch on this, like some of the antics that she went through her room.
You could go on for
quote
hours.
Unquote roommates that she had, like the weird, strange things. So there is a lot of stuff that just shows the mental state that she was in. But we've touched on this before. I am a very big believer, like, like when you're close to death or dying, like you're closer to that veil. But I also really do think that with mental illness too, not that you're close to dying, but I just think that you're more tapped in without it being like structured tapping in. I don't know how.
One of my thoughts on it that tell me if I'm picking up what you're putting down, because I've kind of thought this too, is we have labeled mental illness as an illness, and that's usually because people who struggle with it, right? You struggle to live a normal life.
Quote,
but
unquote,
what if we looked at it as less of an illness and more of a different perception of our world, right? So your brain is perceiving the world completely different, and maybe you're seeing some things that other people don't have abilities to see.
Thank you, because that is exactly what I was trying to say. Like either you're just like you're in between, like you can kind of zone. My thought was always more that, right? So I think that she was maybe I don't know if manic or like having some sort of break in her mental illness is the
it would be a bipolar episode, right? Like she's on like that manic high.
Yeah, and I think that that's just triggering, we all know that everything is like emotion based, right? Like everything that we talk about pretty much is all emotion based. So her emotions are heightened in whichever way you want to, whatever, call it. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of negative energy in that hotel up until 2013. There's so much fucked up shit that happened. Plus
and still happened. It actually recently reopened.
Yeah, Jesus. And then plus you put somebody that's like that in there, those emotions are going to vibe off of that and it's going to radiate. And I think that I definitely think it was paranormal. I will never understand how none of the alarms got triggered. None of the badges were swiped. No coworkers swiped badges to get onto the roof. So none of that was. So it would have had somebody like if let's just say she got murdered, it would have been somebody that stole a coworker or a worker's badging and keys, or it would have been a badged coworker or coworker that badged in. None of that was recorded.
And see, that's where I went originally too, is the coworker.
There's nothing on cameras.
Here's the only thing I can possibly, if I'm going to try to explain it. She went out a window. She went in another window nearby, like maybe the one next to it or something. Somebody coaxed her in.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought those windows are not openable windows.
I think some of them were, because the one that she disappeared at, or like the scent was lost at, they definitely thought she could have gotten out of the building.
See, I thought they weren't able to be opened.
I could be wrong.
In hotels, you can't open your windows.
Well, I mean, this is also at this point an affordable living place that I'm sure was not being kept to the highest standards. It's literally in disrepair. Maybe somehow her and another person, like somebody was like offering to help. They see she's distressed with ulterior motives, somehow get to a fire escape and puts in the roof. But there's no motive, right? She wasn't sexually assaulted. She wasn't beaten. She wasn't had anything stolen from. Like if it's not paranormal and she was just killed by somebody, it was just in cold blood. But there's nothing that makes sense on how she got to this roof.
No, because I felt like the fire escape things didn't go to that side of the roof, like didn't go to that. So that was like something that was like debunked, if you will.
Yeah, there's a debunk for everything.
Well, because here's the thing. Let's just call it what it is. You need a ladder to get up there. You can't just climb. Like you cannot physically climb up these.
Like that's the one thing that makes me think like somebody had to be involved.
Well, I don't know, because when paranormal things happen, the abilities in your body are wild. So she probably did climb up there. I don't know. But the biggest points in this that have always tripped me up are, okay, there's no security footage of anybody, right? There's no security footage of anybody carrying a ladder to the roof, right?
Right.
None of the badges got swiped, keys, whatever. All that was all locked, alarm, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so somebody would have had to carry this girl up there with a ladder or have the ladder already up there and then carry, drag her up there or course her up there. But it's not on any footage. There's no, like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I swear. And every time I go down the Elisa Lam rabbit hole, I'm like, it's going to make sense this time, right? Like,
it's never going to.
If there was a way to get onto the roof and a way to get up to the water tank, done. She missed her meds. It was unfortunate. Yeah. Her mental illness led her to take her life. But it can't be that.
I can't. Here's the other thing. Even if she did somehow get a ladder, but there wasn't even a ladder up there. So even if she did somehow get up there on her own, let's just say she scaled it in some weird way, the way that it is positioned, the latch on the tank, it's literally like everyone had said that she would have never been able to open it. Like she would not have had enough strength, her small stature, and then not being on something balanced, just being scaled up on there. She would have never been able to open that. Yeah,
she couldn't hold on to the side of the tank and open it. It just makes no sense.
So that's why, I don't know why, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I just don't think that this is a murder. I never have. I've never felt that way. I understand that it probably logically makes more sense that somebody coerced her in there. But like you said, there's no motive. But we all know that there doesn't have to be a motive. That's the only way
that makes sense to me, but it's still completely debunked. Like, it's so...
That doesn't make sense to me.
Confusing.
I think her struggling with what she was struggling with the energy of that building, something helped her get up. I don't know. But I don't think...
In typical Oddity Shop fashion, we'll just never know.
We'll be here for 4 hours because this pisses me off because it fucks with my mind so bad.
We almost need to rename that from like the Oddity Shop to the podcast that will never give you a solid answer. We'll just always leave you wanting more.
It's like, like when you listen to read something and then everyone's going to do a deep dive and just be like hours in deep diving, looking at all of this. Because there's so much more. There's so much more.
If for some odd, strange reason you've never heard of this story, start with the YouTube link below and go down the rabbit hole yourself. Because like Kara said, I mean, we've been here 45 minutes. We barely scratched the surface of everything. I mean,
this probably could have been like a 2-parter if you deep dive into
down,
each little element. Good job. I'm glad you did it, not me. But thanks.
I figured you'd be excited.
Because this is one of my favorite. I hate saying favorite. That's such a wrong word, but it is. It's my favorite thing that I can't figure out and is ingrained in my... I'm telling you, that video it's horrifying. Ingrained in my brain.
It's just uncomfortable to watch.
I'm watching it right now and I'm getting full body chills. Good job, dude.
Yes. We're going to keep begging for write-ins. Do you guys have theories on Elisa Lam's disappearance? Have you cracked the case? Let us know. We want to hear your thoughts.
I'm going to keep asking for things. Okay, if you listened all the way to this, on our last post, drop what emoji should they drop?
Ooh, what about like a sun? Because isn't California like the...
Oh, okay, yeah. Drop a
sunset,
sun emoji.
Golden sun state.
And then we know you came from this episode.
Yes. And since Kara hasn't asked in a really long time,
tell me I'm pretty.
If you feel inclined to, tell her she's pretty. What else should the people do?
All the other things. Again, just to end, we all love you. And if you're struggling, we'll have resources below. Again, if you feel so inclined to donate to our cause, we would be forever grateful.
And as well, too, the suicide hotline number is 988. So keep that handy. If you ever need it, it's available 24/7.
For yourself, anyone else.
Absolutely.
We love you. We hope you keep listening. We hope we have you for a long time as listeners. We love and appreciate you so much. I could keep going on forever. So, all the things that you need to do. Most importantly, creep it real, yeah, balls.
Goodbye.
Bye.